Hello, you are on the Barlatu channel. Today I want to talk about the sights of Italy. Of course, to begin with we must mention the most famous amphitheater in the world, the Colosseum in Rome. The Colosseum is the most famous and one of the most grandiose structures of the ancient world, which have survived to this day. It is located in Rome, in the lowlands between the Esquilino, Palatine, and Caelian hills. The amphitheater was begun by Emperor Vespasian after his victories in Judea. It is believed that the amphitheater was built with the proceeds from the sale of war booty. The amphitheater was completed under Emperor Titus in 80. Despite all the hardships suffered by the Colosseum over the centuries, its ruins, stripped of their former exterior and interior decoration, still make a strong impression with their stark grandeur and give a fairly clear idea of what its location and architecture were like. Also the seat of the Pope, the Vatican City-State, the smallest officially recognized state in the world, inside the territory of Rome is clearly worth your attention. The status of the Vatican City in international law is the auxiliary sovereign territory of the Holy See, the seat of the highest spiritual authority of the Roman Catholic Church. In antiquity, Vatican territory was not inhabited because in ancient Rome it was considered a holy place. The Emperor Claudius held circus games on this site. In 326, after the advent of Christianity, the Basilica of Constantine was erected over the supposed tomb of Saint Peter, and the place has been inhabited ever since. The Papal region, formed in the middle of the 8th century, covered a large part of the Apennine Peninsula, but in 1870 it was abolished by the Kingdom of Italy. In its present form it appeared on February 11, 1929 on the basis of the Lateran agreements concluded with the government of Benito Mussolini. Next we have the Pantheon or Temple of All the Gods, an outstanding monument of history and architecture of ancient Rome, built between 118 and 128 AD. The building was built at the expense of Marcus Vipsanius Agrippa, son-in-law of Emperor Gaius Octavian Augustus, between 27 and 25 BC to commemorate Octavian Augustus' naval victory. Another version sees the Pantheon as a typical monument of the time of Emperor Trajan, 98 to 117. It was substantially rebuilt in 114 or just after the fire of 110 and only completed under Hadrian, 117 to 138, between 125 and 128 AD. In 1624, by order of Pope Urban VIII, the bronze coverings of the portico were removed from the Barberini family to be melted down to make a quiver in St. Peter's Basilica. The people of Rome responded with the saying, "Quod non fecerunt Barbari fecerunt Barberini," what the barbarians did not do, the Barberini did. The architect G.L. Bernini erected two small bell towers in the corners of the attic, but they looked so ridiculous that they immediately received the irreverent nickname, Donkey Ears Bernini. Researchers dispute this fact, attributing the work to F. Borromini or D. Fontana. In 1883 the bell towers were removed. Now we come to St. Mark's Square, the main square of Venice. The square was formed in the 9th century as a small space in front of St. Mark's Cathedral. In 1063 the construction of the modern St. Mark's Basilica began on the square. The temple was consecrated in 1094, after which it was still being finished and decorated for a long time. In 1125, after the victory over the King of Tyre, two huge columns were delivered by sea to Venice and after some time installed on the square near the waterfront. Today they are known as the columns of St. Mark and St. Theodore. Between them, criminals were executed in the Middle Ages. In 1797 Napoleon conquered Venice, deposed the last local doge, took off St. Mark's column and sent to Paris the symbol of the city, St. Mark's lion. Subsequently, by decision of the Congress of Vienna it was returned to Venice and set in its place. In 1902, the Campanile bell tower of St. Mark's Cathedral collapsed completely. It was restored by 1912. So, the Uffizi Gallery is a museum in Florence, one of the oldest museums in Europe. In 1560 the first Grand Duke of Tuscany, Cosimo I de' Medici (1519–1574), decided to build a palace to house the administrative and judicial offices of the magisterium of the Duchy of Tuscany. The building was to be a new and modern center symbolizing ducal authority. Cosimo turned to his favorite court painter and architect, Giorgio Vasari. The first Medici collections formed the core of the gallery. Among them are true masterpieces. In the past they were in other buildings, but were then placed in this gallery, standing in the heart of the city, and arranged with complete respect for the tastes and choices of its customers, the public, private citizens, merchants, bankers, literati, as well as secular and religious institutions. After Vasari's death in 1574, the construction of the Uffizi was continued by Bernardo Buontalenti and Alfonso Parighi the Younger. The gallery was opened to the public in 1769, thanks to the Grand Duke Pietro Leopoldo I. Lastly, we will touch on Piazza Michelangelo, or Piazza Michelangelo, a square in Florence that has become one of the city's landmarks, thanks to the panoramic view of the city from the square. The square was built in 1869 on the hill to the south of the center by the architect Giuseppe Poggio, completing his work on the reconstruction of the left bank of the Arno. In the center of the square, named after the Renaissance master, is a copy of his statue of David, at the foot of which are copies of 4 allegories from the Medici chapel in the Basilica of San Lorenzo. Unlike the marble originals, all the copies are made of bronze. Today there is a parking lot between the pavilion and the statue, and the space to the north of the statue is occupied by a tourist area with an observation deck that offers a view of the central part of the city. That's the end of the video. Write comments, your opinion is important to me.